Listen, that rumble in the distance, a summer storm rolling across the mountains. The ancient Slavs didn't hear random weather. They heard a voice, angry, righteous, unstoppable. They heard a god, and that god is still out there, still striking, still watching, still waiting for someone to break their oath. His name was Perun. From the great rivers of the east to the deep forests of the west, across every field where the Slavic tribes built their lives, one name echoed louder than any other: the Thunderer, the Striker, the god who made the earth tremble and the heavens crack open. While the sleeping father god dreamed the universe into existence, Perun was wide awake, riding across the storm clouds, thunder arrows in hand, hunting down oath-breakers and demons with the fury of 1,000 lightning strikes. You didn't philosophize about this god. You felt him, in the flash that split the sky, in the boom that shook your bones, in the sudden electric terror that makes every animal, including you, instinctively duck. Ancient historians called him the sole master of the universe, the Slavic answer to Zeus, to Jupiter. But here's the thing, those gods threw lightning bolts, like a king hurling spears from his throne. Perun? Perun was the lightning, the storm itself made conscious, justice delivered at the speed of light. Quick, honest moment before we begin. This channel is small, but it's growing, and every single subscriber genuinely makes a difference at this stage. If what you're about to hear sounds like your kind of story, I'd love to have you along for the rest. Now, let's get into it. So, who is Perun? Let's start with his name, because it's basically a warning label. The root of it is an ancient word meaning to strike, to smash, to hit. Add the ending and you get the striker, the one who smashes. This isn't poetic mythology. This is a functional description, like naming a hurricane the destroyer, or a volcano the mountain that explodes. The name is what he does, and his family tree is impressive. He shares his roots with thunder gods, stretching all the way across the ancient world, a single lineage of sky strikers going back thousands of years. But here's where it gets wild. In some Slavic languages, his name literally became the word for thunder itself. The god and the storm merged into one. You don't have a god of thunder. You have thunder, personified, walking the earth. Even today, in the 21st century, when an old grandmother curses someone with the words, "Thunder strike you," she is invoking him. Maybe she doesn't know his name anymore, but that curse is 1,000 years old and it still carries weight. Because people remembered what happened when this god got angry. His weapons? Burning stones and thunder arrows, meteoric iron and ancient stone axes that fell from the sky, glowing white-hot, seeking out the wicked like divine guided missiles. You couldn't hide from him. You couldn't bargain with him. When he struck, the sky itself opened up to deliver judgment. The year is 980. A powerful prince wants to unify his people under a single set of gods. So he does what any ambitious ruler would do. He builds the gods a home. On a hill near his palace, he raises a sacred circle. And at the absolute center, the place of highest honor, stands Perun. Picture this idol. A wooden body, massive and imposing, but the head, silver, and the mustache, gold. This wasn't just art. This was a statement. The most valuable metals of the age, crafted into the face of the most powerful god, looking down at everyone, judging, watching. In another great center of his worship, they took it even further. An eternal fire burned there, day and night, fueled only by oak wood. Sacred oak, his tree, the only wood pure enough to honor him. And if you were the servant responsible for keeping that fire alive, if you let it go out, even once, even by accident, the penalty was death. Not because the priests were cruel, but because letting his fire die was a cosmic failure, an insult to the god who kept the universe running, an invitation to disaster. But here's the beautiful part. He didn't need golden temples or marble columns. His true sanctuaries were sacred oak groves, living cathedrals grown by the earth itself. The oak was his chosen tree, not planted by humans, chosen by the god. Under ancient oaks, disputes were settled, oaths were sworn, and sacrifices were offered. To strike a sacred oak with an axe? That was suicide. You'd be inviting his wrath directly into your life. And archaeologists have actually found these places, circular structures with layers of charred oak wood. Evidence of those eternal fires, still there after 1,000 years, waiting to tell their story. The temples may be gone, but the ash remains. Perun wasn't just a weather god. He was the ultimate enforcer, the divine police, the patron of warriors and the backbone of the state. When Slavic rulers signed peace treaties with the great empires of the day, massive political events that shaped the fate of nations, they didn't swear on holy books. They laid their swords and their shields on the ground, and they swore by the thunder god and by the god of the underworld. Two witnesses, sky and earth, light and darkness, the two great powers that governed all existence. And everyone understood the deal. If you broke that oath, he would find you. Think about what that meant. He wouldn't send angels or messengers. The lightning itself would hunt you down. Your own weapons, the very sword you swore upon, would turn against you in battle. You'd be marked, cursed, doomed. There was nowhere on earth you could run that the sky couldn't see you. This is why thunderstones mattered so much. Those ancient stone axes and tools that people dug up in their fields. To the Slavs, these weren't old artifacts. They were physical proof of his strikes. The exact spots where his lightning had hit so hard it left a scar in the earth. Households kept them as charms, protection. If you had a piece of the god's wrath sitting on your shelf, maybe he'd recognize you as faithful. Maybe he'd spare your house when the next storm rolled through. And here's the deeper meaning. He wasn't acting alone. He was the executor of a higher will, the active hand of the sleeping creator. He turned the great wheel of the heavens, the starry sky revolving around the North Star. He made sure reality stayed on track. He maintained cosmic order through force when necessary. He was judge, jury, and executioner, and his courtroom was the entire sky. But here's where he reveals his complexity. He's not just a destroyer, he's a creator. Because what happens after the storm? After the thunder and the lightning and the fury? Rain. He brings his rain to the earth, and the ancient Slavs described this as the sky god bringing life to the earth goddess, reviving drought-stricken fields, making the crops grow, ensuring survival. Without his rain, everyone starves. This is why there were rain rituals. Young girls covered in green leaves, dancing in circles, singing for the storm to come. And in some regions, these rain maidens carried a name taken directly from the thunder god himself. His wife, his daughter, his feminine reflection? The mythology isn't clear, but the connection to the life-giving storm is absolute. And this brings us to the greatest mythic conflict in all of Slavic tradition. The thunder god versus the serpent of the deep. Picture it. Perun rules the high mountains, the sky, the storm clouds. His enemy, the cattle god, the master of the underworld, dwells in the lowlands, in the roots of the world tree, in the dark earth far below. This enemy is often shown as a serpent. And in the myth, he does what serpents do. He steals. He takes the thunder god's cattle, which are really the clouds, or he takes his wife, or both. Mythology loves to pile it on. So the chase begins. Across the whole world, the thunder god striking at every tree and every stone where the serpent tries to hide. Thunder crashes. Lightning splits ancient oaks. The serpent slithers deeper into the roots. And finally, crash. The arrow hits home. The rain is released. The waters that the serpent tried to hoard come pouring down onto the earth. This isn't just a story. It's the water cycle itself, turned into myth. The eternal battle between fire in the sky and water in the earth. Order against chaos. And it plays out every single time it rains. Then Christianity arrived. The priests came with their crosses and their holy books, ready to tear down the old idols and convert the Slavs, by the sword, if necessary. The very same prince who once built that silver-headed idol now converted, and he ordered the statue dragged down to the river and cast into the water. People wept openly as the god they had worshipped for generations vanished beneath the surface. But here's the thing about trying to kill a thunder god. You can't. Because storms don't stop. Thunder doesn't care about theology, and the church knew it could never tell people to ignore what they saw with their own eyes in the sky. So they made a deal, a compromise, a brilliant act of blending the old faith into the new. The thunder god became a saint, Saint Elias, and the fit was perfect. In the Bible, the prophet Elias was carried up to heaven in a chariot of fire. He had power over rain and drought. He called down fire from the heavens to consume his enemies. Same job description, different name, the same God. Across the Balkans and the lands to the east, people began to say that thunder was the sound of Saint Elias's fiery chariot, racing across the clouds, chasing the devil, exactly the way the old thunder god chased the serpent. That old superstition about not crossing yourself during a storm, it's still there, because making the sign marks you. It makes you visible, and you don't want to attract attention when the thunderer is in a bad mood. Even the traditional family feast day, celebrated in the region to this day, often seats Saint Elias at the place of highest honor at the table, the very same seat the thunder god held 1,000 years ago. The name changed. The prayers changed, the images changed, but the God, he never left. You want proof he never died? Look at a map. Mountains across the Balkans still carry versions of his name. High places, where gods are said to dwell, still bearing that name after 1,000 years of Christianity. Geography doesn't forget. But my favorite legacy? The one that makes me smile every spring, the iris flower. In Slavic languages, this flower is named after him directly. It's also called God's plant. The ancient Slavs believed these flowers grew wherever his lightning had touched the earth. Sacred ground, marked by divine fire, blooming blue and purple in remembrance. And people still plant them on their roofs, even today, even without knowing why. Because somewhere deep in cultural memory, they remember one thing. The flower protects against lightning. The god's own flower protecting you from the god himself. It's insurance, it's devotion, and it's the most beautiful kind of survival. Perun is raw power, made divine, justice without compromise, the god who demanded honor from warriors and fertility from the earth in equal measure. Over 1,000 years ago, new converts dragged his wooden idol into the river. They thought they were drowning a god. They weren't, because the god was never in the statue. He was in the storm, in the flash of lightning that makes you flinch, in the crack of thunder that rattles your windows, in the rain that saves the harvest. He's in the rustling oak leaves that sound like whispers, in the vivid blue of the iris blooming in your garden, in the instinct that makes you hold your breath when the sky turns dark and electric. Here's the way to understand him. It's like watching a mountain during a thunderstorm. The mountain and the oak upon it stand unmoving, rooted deep, a place of law and of sanctuary. But the storm is the god's active will, striking down the oath breakers, bringing the rain that lets life go on. He's not a distant ruler on a throne. He's the electric current running through the ancient Slavic soul. And the next time you hear thunder rolling across the sky, remember, that's not random noise. That's the striker, still on patrol, still keeping oaths, still striking, still very much awake.